When I was 21, I spent a lot of nights alone at my parents' house in the hills above Los Angeles. They owned several properties around California because my dad worked in commercial real estate, so they traveled constantly. Since I was taking a semester off from college, I usually stayed behind to watch the house. The backyard overlooked a small private lake surrounded by expensive homes. Across the water was a quiet community park with a walking trail that locals used during the day. But after sunset, the place became completely deserted. Every house along the shoreline technically owned part of the lake, so strangers weren't supposed to be anywhere near it. One warm July evening, I was relaxing in the enclosed sunroom, watching Netflix. It had become my favorite place in the house, because all the windows were open, letting in the cool breeze rolling off the water. The only sounds were crickets, distant traffic from Mulholland Drive, and the occasional splash from ducks landing on the lake. At first, I ignored another splash, then another, then another. Normally, ducks would flap around for a few seconds before settling down, but this kept going. The splashes sounded heavy, almost rhythmic. I lowered the TV volume. Silence inside. Splash, splash, splash! I walked closer to the open window and listened. It wasn't an animal. Someone was actually moving through the water. Curious, I slid open the back door and stepped onto the wooden deck. The backyard was almost completely black except for faint moonlight reflecting off the lake. Then I heard it. Someone was humming. A man's voice. Low, slow, almost cheerful. He was swimming. I couldn't actually see him because it was too dark, but I could hear him pushing through the water. Every instinct told me something wasn't right. Nobody swam in that lake, especially not after midnight. I stepped back inside and turned on the floodlights over the deck. Instantly, the humming stopped. The splashing stopped. Everything became perfectly silent. Whoever had been out there had obviously seen the lights. For a second, I wondered if maybe one of the neighbors had decided to take a late-night swim, but even that didn't make sense. Most of the people living around us were older professionals who probably went to bed before 10. I locked every back door and texted my older brother, "Dude, I think someone was swimming behind the house." He didn't answer. I tried returning to my show, but I couldn't focus anymore. Every reflection in the windows made me jump. Outside was nothing but darkness. After a while, I realized something else. The TV itself was acting like a giant spotlight. Anyone outside could probably see exactly where I was sitting. I grabbed the remote and shut everything off. The room instantly went dark. For several seconds, I couldn't hear anything except my own breathing. Then, another breath, not mine. Outside, right next to the window, someone was standing only a few feet away. I slowly slid down behind the couch, trying not to make a sound. The breathing continued, heavy, deliberate, like whoever it was wanted me to hear it. Then a deep voice quietly said, "I know you're in there." Every muscle in my body locked up. Without thinking, I blurted out, "Mike, is that you?" Mike was one of our neighbors who occasionally stopped by to borrow tools. I desperately hoped maybe this was some incredibly stupid joke. No answer, only silence. Then, bare footsteps walking across the deck, slowly fading away. I stayed frozen on the floor for what felt like forever before forcing myself to move. The first thing I did was check every lock in the house. Front door, locked. Garage door, locked. Side entrance, locked. I texted my parents and brother in a group chat explaining everything. A minute later, my dad finally replied, "Turn the backyard lights back on. Make sure nobody's still there." I didn't want to, but I also didn't want to look scared. So I grabbed the largest kitchen knife I could find, unlocked the back door, and stepped carefully onto the deck. The floodlights illuminated wet footprints, bare footprints. They crossed the deck toward the side stairs. My heart pounded as I followed them. When I reached the corner of the deck, I froze. Just below me, someone's forehead, eyes, and the top of their nose were slowly peeking over the edge of the deck. He had been hiding underneath it the entire time. The second our eyes met, he smiled. He disappeared beneath the deck before I could even react. My body finally caught up with what had just happened. I stumbled backward, nearly dropping the knife as I rushed inside and slammed the sliding door shut behind me. Every lock clicked into place. I immediately dialed 911. I barely remember what I said. I was talking so fast that the dispatcher had to ask me several times to slow down. There was someone hiding under my deck. He was watching me. I think he's still outside. The dispatcher kept me on the line while deputies from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department were dispatched to the neighborhood. Those 10 minutes felt like an hour. Every tiny sound made me jump. Tree branches scratching against the windows, the refrigerator humming, the air conditioner kicking on. When the patrol cars finally arrived, I had never been happier to see flashing lights. 2 deputies searched the backyard with powerful flashlights while another took my statement inside. They checked underneath the deck first. Nothing. Then the shoreline. Nothing. They even walked around the neighboring properties after speaking with a few homeowners who had been awakened by the patrol cars. Nobody had seen anything. One deputy asked me several questions that honestly made me even more uncomfortable. Has your family had problems with anyone? No. Any former employees? No. Anyone who might know this house is often empty? That question stuck with me, because the answer was probably yes. My parents had friends, contractors, landscapers, cleaners. Plenty of people knew they traveled frequently. After they left, I shut every single window in the house despite the summer heat and turned the air conditioning all the way down. I didn't sleep much that night. Every creak sounded like footsteps. Every shadow looked like someone standing outside. Morning couldn't come fast enough. The sunlight pouring through the windows felt like the greatest relief I'd ever experienced. My parents drove home later that afternoon. My dad checked every inch of the property himself. We found the footprints leading from the deck toward the lake, but they disappeared along the muddy shoreline. There wasn't much anyone could do. Life slowly returned to normal over the following weeks. The deputies increased patrols around the neighborhood for a while, but nothing else ever happened. No more strange swimmers, no more footprints, no more voices outside the windows. To this day, nobody knows who that man was or why he chose our house. Sometimes I still think about one detail that keeps bothering me. He didn't run when I came outside. He stayed hidden under the deck, waiting, almost like he expected me to walk right to the edge. Dry. A few years later, I adopted a golden retriever named Cooper. He's the kind of dog that wants to greet absolutely everyone he sees. Every morning before work, every afternoon after getting home, and every night before bed, we'd take the exact same walk around my apartment complex in West Los Angeles. Our route never changed. We'd leave through the main gate, walk around the parking area, circle a small landscaped courtyard, then head back home. At night, the parking lot was incredibly dark. Only a couple of old streetlights worked, so I always carried a flashlight. I also listened to music with only one earbud in because I like staying aware of my surroundings. That habit probably saved me. One Thursday night, we started our usual walk around 11. Everything felt normal. Cooper happily sniffed every bush while I mindlessly scrolled through a playlist. As we approached the far end of the parking lot, I thought I heard someone talking. At first, I ignored it. The music was loud enough that I figured I was imagining things. Then I heard it again. A voice. Faint. Somewhere ahead. I paused my music and pulled the earbud out. The entire parking lot became silent. For several seconds. Nothing. I laughed at myself. Maybe I really was hearing things. We kept walking. Only a few more steps. Then, help. It sounded like a child. Quiet. Muffled. Almost like someone was speaking through a blanket. I froze. Cooper stopped walking too. I swept my flashlight across the parked cars. Nothing. No movement. No people. No open vehicle doors. Just rows of SUVs and pickup trucks, reflecting the beam back at me. Then it came again. Help. Exactly the same. Same volume, same tone. No panic, no urgency. Almost mechanical. I couldn't even tell which vehicle it was coming from. For the first time that night, Cooper reacted. His ears stood straight up. He slowly turned toward the row of parked trucks on our left. He wasn't barking. He wasn't growling. He was simply staring. Then the voice spoke again. Help. Exactly the same. Not louder, not quieter, not frightened. Like someone pressing play on the same recording over and